Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the computer screen. The small lights blinked red and green in the quiet control room of the ship called New Horizon. It was his third week on patrol duty, and nothing exciting had happened. Space was mostly empty and boring. "Another quiet day," said Amy Carter, the ship's doctor. She sat next to him, checking her medical equipment. "I almost missed the academy training. At least there we had things to do." Ben Collins, their engineer, laughed from across the room. "Be careful what you wish for. My dad always said space has a way of giving you excitement when you least want it." Jake was about to reply when his screen started beeping. A weak signal appeared on his monitor. It was coming from the asteroid field ahead of them. He frowned and looked closer. "Captain Hayes," Jake called into his radio. "I'm picking up a distress signal." Captain Lisa Hayes walked into the control room. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been in space for 20 years and trusted rules more than feelings. "Where is it coming from?" she asked. "The asteroid field about 2 hours away," Jake said. "The signal is very weak. Whatever is out there might not have much time." Captain Hayes looked at the screen. "We have orders to stay on patrol Route 7. Command was very clear about that." "But Captain," Jake said, "someone needs help. Isn't that why we're out here?" "We're out here to follow orders, Lieutenant Morrison, not to chase every strange signal we find." Amy stood up. "Captain, if someone is hurt, we should help them. That's basic human decency." Captain Hayes shook her head. "We don't know what's out there. It could be pirates trying to trick us. It could be aliens. It could be anything." Jake looked at his friends. Amy nodded at him. Ben gave him a thumbs up. They all felt the same way. Someone was in trouble, and they had to help. "Captain," Jake said carefully, "what if it was us out there? Wouldn't we want someone to come?" Captain Hayes was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the 3 young officers. Finally, she sighed. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. If we find nothing, we go back to patrol. If we find trouble, we leave immediately, understood?" "Yes, Captain," Jake said, trying not to smile. The New Horizon changed direction and headed toward the asteroid field. Jake watched the signal get stronger as they got closer. His heart beat faster with excitement. 2 hours later, they found the source of the signal. Hidden behind a large asteroid was a crashed ship. It was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The metal was smooth and blue with strange symbols carved into its sides. "That's definitely not human technology," Ben whispered. "Or any technology. In our databases," Amy added. Captain Hayes stared at the alien ship. "This changes everything. We need to contact command immediately." "Wait," Jake said. "The life science detector shows someone is still alive in there. We can't just leave them." "We don't know what they are, Morrison. They could be dangerous." "They could also be dying," Amy said. "My medical oath says I have to help anyone who needs it, no matter what they look like." Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. "Captain, give me permission to go over there, just to check if anyone needs help. If it's dangerous, I'll come right back." Captain Hayes wanted to say no. Jake could see it in her eyes. But she also knew that leaving someone to die was wrong. "Take Carter and Collins with you. 15 minutes maximum. If anything seems wrong, you come back immediately." Jake, Amy, and Ben put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle to the alien ship. The ship's hull had a big hole in it. They could see inside. "There," Amy pointed. "Someone is in there." They carefully entered the crashed ship. Inside, they found a girl who looked about 16 years old. Her skin was blue like the ocean, and she had long silver hair. She was unconscious and bleeding from several wounds. "She's hurt badly," Amy said, scanning her with a medical device. "But her body is similar enough to humans that I can help her." "Are you sure it's safe?" Ben asked. Amy was already opening her medical kit. "Look at her, Ben. She's just a kid. We can't let her die." Jake knelt next to the girl. Up close, he could see that her clothes were made of expensive materials. She wore jewelry that looked like it was made for someone important. This was not just any alien girl. "She's someone special," Jake said quietly. Amy worked quickly to stop the bleeding and stabilize the girl's condition. After 20 minutes, The girl opened her eyes. They were bright purple and full of pain and fear. When she saw the three humans, she tried to move away. She said something in a language they didn't understand. "It's okay," Jake said softly, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're here to help." The girl stared at him for a long moment. Then she pointed to herself and said something that sounded like Zara. "Zara," Jake repeated, pointing to her. Then he pointed to himself. "Jake." She nodded and tried to smile, though she was still in pain. Amy continued treating her wounds while Ben examined the ship's technology. Jake stayed with Zara, trying to communicate with simple words and gestures. Over the next hour, he learned that her ship had been attacked. She had been running from something or someone. She drew pictures in the dust showing star maps and what looked like a palace. "She's not just anyone," Jake told his friends. "I think she might be royalty or something important." Their radio crackled. "Morrison, get back here now," Captain Hayes ordered. "I'm detecting multiple ships approaching fast." Jake looked at Zara. She had heard the radio too, and her face filled with terror. She grabbed his arm and shook her head frantically. She doesn't want to go with them, Jake realized. Whatever she's running from, those ships belong to them. Amy packed up her medical supplies. "She's stable enough to move, but she needs more treatment." Ben looked at his scanner. "Those ships are huge, Jake. Military class. If they want her back..." Jake made another decision that would change everything. He looked at Zara's frightened face and knew what he had to do. "We're not giving her to them," he said firmly. "Jake, that's crazy," Ben said. "We can't fight alien warships." "We're not going to fight them," Jake said. "We're going to hide her." He helped Zara to her feet and led her toward their shuttle. She was weak but determined to escape whatever was chasing her. As they reached the shuttle, the alien ships appeared. They were massive and black, with weapons that could destroy the New Horizon easily. This is it, Jake thought. The moment that changes everything. He looked at Zara one more time and made a promise to himself. Whatever happened next, he would not let them take her back to whatever she was running from. The girl who would one day become an empress looked back at him, with trust in her purple eyes, not knowing that this human boy would one day change the entire galaxy. 10 years had passed since that day in the asteroid field. Jake Morrison was no longer the young lieutenant who had rescued an alien girl. Now he was Commander Morrison, though his rank didn't mean much on the frontier world of New Colorado. The Mai trading post he owned sat on the edge of human space where brave settlers came to start new lives. Jake sold supplies, repaired ships, and tried not to think about the past. But some memories never faded. Another quiet morning, Jake said to himself as he opened the post for business. Outside, the red sun of New Colorado painted everything, in warm colors. His assistant, Maria Santos, arrived early as always. She was a smart woman who had left Earth to find adventure among the stars. "Coffee's ready, boss," she said, handing him a steaming cup, "and we got 3 supply requests from the mining colony." Jake nodded and looked at his computer screen. Business was slow but steady. Life on New Colorado was peaceful, which was good because the rest of human space was not. For 10 years, Earth had been struggling. Other alien races in the galaxy saw humans as dangerous and primitive. They formed groups to keep Earth isolated. Trade was difficult. Expansion had almost stopped. "Sometimes I wonder if we're fighting a war we can't win," Maria said, reading the news on her tablet. "Every species probably felt that way when they first met others," Jake replied. "We just have to prove we're worth knowing." Around noon, Jake was fixing a broken engine when Maria ran into the garage. Her face was pale with fear. "Jake, you need to see this," she said, pointing at the sky. Jake walked outside and looked up. His coffee cup fell from his hand and broke on the ground. Massive ships filled the sky above New Colorado. They were sleek and beautiful, made of white metal that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Jake had seen ships like these before 10 years ago. "Those aren't human ships," Maria whispered. "No," Jake said quietly. "They're not." The largest ship lowered toward the trading post. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Other People in the small town came out of their buildings to stare. A shuttle separated from the big ship and landed gently in the field behind Jake's post. The shuttle was elegant and graceful, nothing like the rough human ships they were used to. Jake's heart pounded as he walked toward the shuttle. He knew this moment would come someday, but he had hoped it would be longer. The shuttle door opened with a soft sound. First came 6 guards in armor that looked like it was made of liquid silver. They carried weapons but kept them lowered. Then, she stepped out. Jake would have recognized her anywhere, even though she had changed completely. The frightened girl he had saved was now a tall, confident woman. Her blue skin had a healthy glow, and her silver hair was styled in an elaborate way that showed her importance. She wore robes that seemed to be made of starlight itself. Around her neck was a necklace with a jewel that pulsed with inner light. Everything about her said power and authority. But her eyes were the same. Bright purple eyes that had looked at him with trust 10 years ago. "Hello, Jake Morrison," she said in perfect English. Her voice was musical and strong. "Zara," Jake said. It was barely a whisper. She smiled. And for a moment she looked like the young girl he remembered. "You remember my name." "I was not sure you would." "I remember everything," Jake said. "How could I forget?" Maria stared at them both. "Jake, do you know her?" "Yes," Jake said, not taking his eyes off Zara. "We met a long time ago." Zara stepped closer. "I have much to tell you, Jake Morrison. But first, let me introduce myself." Properly, she stood tall and proud. "I am Empress Zara of the Stellar Dominion, ruler of 200 worlds and commander of the greatest fleet in this part of the galaxy." Jake felt dizzy. The young girl he had saved was now an empress. I don't understand." 10 years ago, you saved my life," Zara said. "You did not know who I was then. I was the rightful heir to the throne of the Stellar Dominion. My uncle had taken power in a military coup and was trying to kill me." She looked around at the small trading post. "When you helped me escape, you gave me the chance to reclaim my birthright. It took years of fighting, but I won. I am now the rightful empress." Jake's mind raced. "And you came here to honor a debt," Zara said firmly, "and to offer your people something they desperately need." More shuttles landed around the trading post. From them came people of different alien species, all wearing the uniforms of Zara's empire. Jake realized that her empire was not just her blue-skinned people, but many races working together. "Your species is in trouble, Jake," Zara said sadly. "The other races fear humans because you are different. You think and act in ways they do not understand. They have formed alliances to keep Earth isolated." "We know," Jake said. "It's been getting worse every year." "But they are wrong to fear you," Zara continued. "In my 10 years as Empress, I have learned that different ways of thinking make an empire stronger, not weaker. Humans have gifts that other species lack." She gestured to her guards and advisors. "You see cooperation here that exists nowhere else in the galaxy. Humans taught me that strength comes from bringing different people together, not keeping them apart." Maria found her voice. "What are you offering?" Zara turned to her. "I am offering humanity a place in my empire, not as conquered people, but as honored allies, protected, respected, and free to grow." Jake felt his legs get weak. That's incredible. But what do you want in return?" "Your help," Zara said simply. "The same alien alliances that threaten Earth also threaten my empire. They fear what we have built together. They want to destroy it and return to the old ways of separation and mistrust." She walked closer to Jake. "I have won many battles, but this war requires something my people do not have. It requires the human ability to see solutions that others cannot imagine." "You want us to fight for you," Jake said. "I want you to fight with me," Zara corrected. "As equals, as partners. Human creativity combined with our technology and resources could end this war and bring peace to the galaxy." Jake looked at the ships in the sky, then at Zara's confident face. "And if we say no?" "Then you say no," Zara said. "I will not force you. That would make me no better than those who threaten us both." but I hope you will consider it." She reached into her robes and pulled out a small device. "This contains detailed information about my offer. Take it to your leaders on Earth. Let them decide." Jake took the device. It was warm and seemed to pulse with energy. "How long do we have?" "Take the time you need," Zara said. "But know that the enemy grows stronger each day. Eventually they will come for Earth whether you join me or not. Together we have a chance to stop them. Apart," she didn't finish the sentence. One of her advisors, a tall being with 4 arms, approached and whispered something to her. "I must return to my fleet," Zara said. "But I will wait for your answer. Jake Morrison, you saved more than my life. 10 years ago. You saved the future of the galaxy, though you did not know it." She started to walk back toward her shuttle, then stopped and turned around. "There is something else you should know," she said. "In our databases, we have been watching Earth for years. Your leaders think humanity is losing the struggle for survival in space. They are wrong." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The other races do not just fear humans," Zara said with a slight smile. "They are terrified of you. They know that once humans truly enter galactic politics, everything will change. They are trying to stop you before you become too powerful to contain." "Are we really that dangerous?" Maria asked. "Not dangerous," Zara said. "Revolutionary. Humans have something no other species has ever developed. You can work with anyone, learn from anyone, and find common ground with anyone. In a galaxy divided by old hatreds and ancient fears, that makes you the most powerful force imaginable." She looked directly at Jake. "That is why I need you, not just as allies, but as teachers. Help me show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest." As Zara's shuttle lifted off and rejoined the fleet in orbit, Jake stood holding the device that could change humanity's future. Around him, the people of New Colorado stared at the alien ships with wonder and fear. "What are you going to do?" Maria asked. Jake looked at the device in his hands, then at the ships disappearing into space. "I'm going to Earth," he said, "to give a girl I once saved the chance to save us all." The device pulsed brighter, as if it knew that the fate of 2 species now rested in the hands of a simple trader on a frontier world. The trip to Earth took Jake 3 days in his fastest ship. During the journey, he studied the device Zara had given him. It contained detailed files about her empire, the alien alliances threatening humanity, and military data that made his head spin. When he reached Earth, Jake was surprised to find Zara's ships already waiting in orbit. They hung in space like silver stars, beautiful and peaceful, but Jake knew they carried enough firepower to destroy every city on Earth. "This is Earth Defense Command," came a voice over his radio. "State your business, Commander Morrison." "I need to speak with President White immediately," Jake said. "I carry a message that could change everything." 2 hours later, Jake sat in a conference room deep inside the Global Defense Building. Around the table were the most powerful people on Earth. President Karen White sat at the head, her gray hair pulled back and her face serious. Admiral Steve Parker, head of Earth's Space Navy, frowned at his tablet. General Nancy Brooks, leader of Earth's ground forces, looked skeptical about everything. Director Colin Turner from Earth Intelligence studied Jake with sharp eyes. "Commander Morrison," President White said, "your report is difficult to believe." "I know how it sounds," Jake replied, "but it's all true. The alien girl I saved 10 years ago is now an empress with the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, and she wants to help us." Admiral Parker slammed his hand on the table. "Help us? Her ships could glass every city on Earth. How is that help?" "She could have attacked us already if that's what she wanted," Jake said calmly. "Instead, she's offering us protection and alliance." Director Turner looked up from his tablet. "Our analysis of her fleet capabilities confirms that we couldn't resist them even if we wanted to. But the question is, why should we trust aliens when other aliens have been making our lives difficult for years?" "Because she's different," Jake said. "Her empire includes dozens of different species working together. That's something new in the galaxy." General Brooks leaned forward. "And what does she want in return for this help?" Human military advisors and volunteer forces to help end the war with the alien alliances, Jake explained. She believes human tactical thinking can make the difference. So she wants us to fight her wars, Admiral Parker said. She wants us to fight our own war, Jake corrected. The same alliances threatening her are the ones keeping Earth isolated. If we help her defeat them, we solve our own problems too. President White was quiet for a long moment. Then she pressed a button on the table. Send in Empress Zara. Jake was surprised when Zara entered the room. She wore simpler clothes than before, but she still moved with the confidence of someone used to commanding others. Her purple eyes swept the room, taking in each person's face. President White, Zara said, bowing slightly. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Empress Zara, the president replied. Please sit. We have many questions. Zara sat across from Jake and folded her hands. I am here to answer them. Admiral Parker spoke first. Why should we trust you? For all we know, you're working with the same aliens who have been harassing our ships. A fair question, Zara said calmly. The truth is you should not trust me completely. Trust must be earned. I offer only facts and opportunities. She gestured toward the window where her ships could be seen as bright dots in the sky. The hegemony alliance that has been pressuring Earth consists of 12 species. They fear human expansion because your psychological profile is unlike anything they have encountered. Director Turner leaned forward. What do you mean by psychological profile? Other species in the galaxy fall into predictable patterns, Zara explained. The Khazari are purely logical and mathematical. The Thorin follow strict hierarchies. The Feltar operate as hive minds, but humans, she paused. Humans combine emotional empathy with strategic ruthlessness in ways that confuse other species. You make us sound like monsters, General Brooks said. On the contrary, Zara replied, you are the only species that can understand multiple viewpoints simultaneously. You can negotiate with logical beings using facts, with hierarchical beings using respect, and with hive minds using group benefits. No other species has this flexibility. President White asked, and this frightens them? Terrifies them, Zara said simply. They believe that if humans gain full access to galactic politics, you will eventually dominate through adaptation, rather than conquest. They are probably right. Jake watched the faces around the table. He could see they were all thinking the same thing. Was this good or bad news? What exactly are you proposing? President White asked. Zara stood and touched the table. A holographic display appeared showing star maps and fleet positions. The Hegemony Alliance has been preparing for a final assault on Earth. They plan to destroy your space capabilities and force you back to your home planet permanently. Admiral Parker studied the display. When? Within 6 months, Zara said. Unless something changes the balance of power. And you're offering to be that change? General Brooks asked. I am offering partnership, Zara said. My empire has the technology and numbers to defeat the hegemony, but we have been fighting them for 3 years with limited success. They know our tactics and can predict our strategies. She touched the display again, showing battle recordings. Human military advisors could provide the tactical innovation we need to end this war quickly. In return, humanity gains protection, advanced technology, and elevated status in galactic politics. Director Turner asked, what guarantees do we have that you won't turn on us once the war is over? None, Zara said honestly. Except logic. Why would I destroy the alliance that makes my empire stronger? Humans provide something no other species can. The ability to find solutions that others cannot imagine. President White looked around the table at her advisors. What kind of commitment are you asking for? Start small, Zara suggested. Send military advisors to observe our operations. Let your medical personnel establish humanitarian protocols. Allow volunteer forces to join joint missions. If the partnership works, expand it. If not, withdraw. Captain Ryan Foster, Jake's old squadmate who now ran Earth's special operations, entered the room. Madam President, I've been listening from the next room. I'd like to volunteer for the first mission. Jake was surprised to see his old friend. Ryan looked older, but still had the same determined expression Jake remembered. Captain Foster, President White said, "You understand the risks?" "Yes, ma'am," Ryan replied. "But I also understand the opportunity. If we don't try this, we'll be fighting alone against impossible odds. With allies, we might actually win." Amy Carter's voice came over the intercom. "Madam President, this is Dr. Carter from Medical Command. I've been reviewing the Empress's medical data, and I'd like to volunteer to establish joint humanitarian protocols." Jake smiled. Amy was still the same person who couldn't bear to let anyone suffer. General Brooks looked at the star maps. "How many human advisors are you talking about?" "Initially, 50 military advisors, 20 medical personnel, and 30 technical specialists," Zara said. "Enough to make a difference, small enough to withdraw if necessary." Admiral Parker asked the hard question, "And if we say no?" Zara's expression became sad. "Then you face the Hegemony Alliance alone. My empire will survive whether we win this war quickly or slowly. But Earth..." She didn't finish. President White stood up. "I need to discuss this with my cabinet and the Global Council. How long can you wait for an answer?" "As long as you need," Zara said. "But remember that the enemy grows stronger each day." As the meeting ended, Jake walked with Zara toward her shuttle. "Do you think they'll agree?" he asked. "I hope so," Zara replied. "But even if they do, this is only the beginning. Winning a war is easier than building a lasting peace." "What do you mean?" Zara stopped and looked at him. "Jake, your species is about to join galactic civilization. That will change not just Earth, but every world in the galaxy. Some will welcome that change. Others will fight it with everything they have." "Are you saying we're going to face more wars?" "I am saying you are going to face the future," Zara said. "And the future is never simple." As her shuttle lifted off, Jake stood watching the stars. Somewhere among them was a war that could determine humanity's place in the galaxy. In a few hours, Earth's leaders would decide whether to fight that war as allies or face it alone. Either way, Jake knew that the quiet life he had built on New Colorado was over. The galaxy was calling and humanity would have to answer. 2 months after the meeting on Earth, Jake found himself on the bridge of an alien warship called the Star of Unity. The ship was massive, with corridors wide enough for 3 different species to walk side by side. Jake had never imagined he would be serving as a military advisor to an alien empress. President White had agreed to Zara's proposal, but only with strict conditions. The human advisors could observe and suggest, but they could not command alien forces. They were there to learn and help, not to take over. Captain Ryan Foster stood next to Jake, studying the tactical displays. Around them, alien officers worked at stations designed for beings with different numbers of hands and eyes. Somehow it all worked together smoothly. "Still hard to believe we're here," Ryan said quietly. "Everything about the last few months has been hard to believe," Jake replied. Dr. Amy Carter's voice came over the communication system. "Bridge, this is Medical Bay. The wounded from the last battle are stable. We saved everyone, human and alien alike." Jake smiled. Amy had thrown herself into her work with typical dedication. Her medical teams had revolutionized battlefield care for Zara's forces. Soldiers who would have died now lived, and word of human medical skills was spreading through the fleet. "Commander Morrison," came Zara's voice, "please report to the strategy room." Jake made his way through the ship's corridors. After 2 months, he was getting used to the mix of species that made up Zara's empire. The blue-skinned Kithera, like Zara, were the largest group, but there were also the tall, thin Astani with their 4 arms, the rock-like Gorvani, who communicated through color changes, and dozens of others. What impressed Jake most was how well they worked together. Each species contributed their strengths, and the humans were already finding their place in this cosmic community. The strategy room was crowded with Zara's top commanders. General Thakvar, a massive Gorvani whose stone skin was currently showing patterns of deep concentration, stood over a holographic battle map. Admiral Silene, an elegant Astani with silver skin, pointed out fleet positions with 2 of her 4 hands. Zara looked up as Jake entered. "Jake, we have a problem. The Hegemony Alliance is massing forces for a major attack on the Kepler system. If they take it, they'll have a clear path to both Earth and our core worlds." Jake studied the map. The Hegemony forces outnumbered Zara's fleet in that sector by almost 2 to 1. "What's our current strategy?" "Meet them head-on with everything we have," General Thakvar said, his skin flashing red with determination. "Fight hard. Hope for the best." "That's what we've been doing for 3 years, Admiral Celine added, her voice musical but frustrated. "It hasn't been working well." Jake looked at the map from different angles. Human military training emphasized creative thinking and adaptation. "What if we don't meet them head-on?" "Explain," Zara said. "The Hegemony expects us to defend the system directly," Jake said. "They've planned for that. But what if we let them take it, then cut off their supply lines?" General Thakvar's skin flashed orange with confusion. "Let them take the system? That goes against everything we know about warfare." "It goes against everything they know about warfare too," Jake said. "That's why it might work." He touched the holographic display highlighting routes through space. "If we withdraw our main fleet but leave behind small groups with cloaking technology, we can attack their supply ships while their main force is busy occupying the system. Without supplies, they'll have to retreat or starve." Admiral Silene considered this. "It's very risky. If it fails, we lose an entire system." "If the direct approach fails, we lose our fleet," Jake countered. "At least this way we keep our ships and get another chance." Captain Foster's voice came over the communication system. "Jake, this is Ryan. I'm in the fighter bay with Ben Collins. We've been working on something that might help." "What is it?" Zara asked. "Ben figured out how to modify our cloaking devices," Ryan explained. "Instead of hiding whole ships, we can hide missiles and torpedoes. The enemy won't see them coming until it's too late." Jake grinned. "That changes everything. We can set traps throughout the system." Engineer Ben Collins joined the meeting by hologram from the technical bay. "It gets better," he said excitedly. "I've been working with the Astani engineers on shield harmonics. We can create weapons that punch through hegemony shields like they're not even there." General Thakvar's skin showed bright yellow, which Jake had learned meant surprise. "This is very different from our normal approach." "Different is what we need," Zara said. "The hegemony has been predicting our moves for years. Time to give them something they can't predict." Over the next week, Jake worked with Zara's commanders to plan the most complex military operation any of them had ever attempted. Human creativity combined with alien technology and experience created strategies that none of them could have developed alone. The battle for the Kepler system began exactly as the hegemony expected. Zara's main fleet appeared to retreat in panic as the enemy forces moved in. Hegemony commanders congratulated themselves on another easy victory. But Jake's plan was just beginning. Hidden throughout the system, small groups of ships waded in. Perfect silence. Cloaked missiles drifted in space like invisible sharks. Modified weapons charged with energy that could pierce any known shield. When the hegemony supply convoy arrived, they found the space lanes empty. Their sensors showed nothing dangerous. They moved forward confidently. The attack came from everywhere at once. Invisible missiles struck supply ships before they could react. Hidden fighters emerged from behind asteroids to attack transports. Modified weapons sliced through shields that should have been impenetrable. In 30 minutes, the entire hegemony supply line was destroyed. "Impossible," General Thakvar said, his skin showing the deep blue of amazement. "We achieved in one battle what we had failed to do in months of fighting." But Jake wasn't finished. "Now comes the hard part. Ryan, take your fighters and hit their communication arrays. Ben, use your shield modifications to protect our ships as we move in. Amy, have medical teams ready for casualties." The main battle was fierce but short. Without supplies and unable to communicate with their home base, the hegemony forces fought desperately, but were outmaneuvered at every turn. Human tactical thinking anticipated their moves, while alien technology gave the firepower to capitalize on every advantage. When it was over, Jake stood on the bridge watching hegemony ships surrender or retreat. For the first time in the war, Zara's forces had won a complete victory. "This is how we've been fighting for 3 years," Admiral Silene said, gesturing at the retreating enemy ships. But today felt different. Today felt like we were thinking with new minds. "That's exactly what happened," Zara said, looking at Jake with pride. "Human minds, alien technology, and the wisdom of cooperation." Dr. Amy Carter's final medical report showed something remarkable. Casualties on both sides were lower than in any previous major battle. Human medical techniques had saved lives throughout the fleet, while new tactics had reduced the time spent in dangerous combat. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Hegemony Alliance would not give up after one defeat, no matter how complete. "What's next?" he asked Zara. "Next, we show the galaxy that this was not luck," she replied. "We show them that cooperation is stronger than conquest, and that the future belongs to those who embrace change rather than fear it." Ryan Foster appeared on the bridge, grinning widely. "Jake, you should see the message traffic we're intercepting. 3 Hegemony Alliance members are asking for diplomatic talks. They want to know how we did what we just did." "And?" Jake asked. "And they want to know if they can join us instead of fighting us." Jake looked out at the stars, where ships from a dozen different species worked together to secure the system they had just liberated. Somewhere among those stars was Earth, no longer alone in the galaxy. The war was far from over, but for the first time, Jake believed they could actually win it. More importantly, they could win it in a way that brought people together instead of tearing them apart. "Welcome to the future," he said quietly, watching alien and human ships flying side by side through space. 1 year after the Battle of Kepler system, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest space station. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from dozens of different worlds docking and departing. Humans worked alongside, aliens as if they had been partners for centuries instead of months. The war was over, but not in the way anyone had expected. "Admiral Morrison," came a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Captain Lisa Hayes, his old commanding officer from the New Horizon. She looked older but happier than he remembered. "Captain Hayes," Jake said, still getting used to his new rank. "How was the inspection tour?" "Remarkable," she replied. 6 months ago, I couldn't have imagined human and alien crews working so well together. Now it seems natural." Jake nodded. The transformation had been rapid and surprising. After the victory at Kepler, 3 more Hegemony Alliance members had asked to join Zara's empire. Then 5 more. Within 6 months, the war had become a series of diplomatic negotiations as former enemies competed to become new allies. "The Thorin delegation just arrived," Captain Hayes said. "They want to establish a joint military academy with Earth." "The same Thorin who were trying to destroy us a year ago?" Jake asked. "The very same. Apparently, they're fascinated by human military innovation. They want their officers to learn what they call adaptive thinking." Jake smiled. It was still hard to believe how much had changed. Earth was no longer isolated and struggling. Instead, it had become the diplomatic and military training center for Zara's expanded empire. His communication device chimed. "Admiral Morrison, this is President White. Please report to the main conference room. Empress Zara has arrived for the ceremony." Jake made his way through the station's corridors. Along the way, he passed classrooms where human instructors taught alien students about creative problem-solving, and laboratories where alien scientists shared advanced technology with human researchers. In the main conference room, he found Zara waiting with an honor guard that included members of 8 different species. She wore ceremonial robes that seemed to capture starlight itself, and the jewel around her neck pulsed with soft blue light. "Jake," she said warmly, "are you ready for today?" "As ready as anyone can be for making history," he replied. Today was the formal ceremony establishing humanity's place in what was now called the Galactic Cooperative. The old empire model was being replaced with something new, a voluntary association of worlds that chose to work together while maintaining their independence. President White entered with her full cabinet, followed by representatives from over 50 worlds. The ceremony would be broadcast across the galaxy, showing everyone that cooperation had triumphed over conquest. "Before we begin," Zara said, "I want to speak privately with Jake." They stepped onto a balcony overlooking Earth's blue surface. Far below, in orbit, ships from across the galaxy moved in peaceful formation. "Do you ever regret that day in the asteroid field?" Zara asked. Jake thought about it. "Which part? Saving your life or changing the course of galactic history?" "Both," Zara said with a smile. "No regrets," Jake said firmly. "Though I never imagined it would lead to all this." "I have something to tell you," Zara said. "The Galactic Cooperative is stable now, but it will continue to grow. We estimate that within 5 years, over 200 worlds will have joined voluntarily. That growth will bring new challenges." "What kind of challenges?" "The kind that require human skills," Zara said. "Each new world will have different cultures, different ways of thinking, different problems to solve. We'll need diplomats who can understand multiple perspectives, military leaders who can adapt to any situation, and innovators who can find solutions no one else can imagine." Jake understood. "You're asking humans to help lead this expansion." "I am asking humans to be themselves," Zara corrected. "Your species has a gift for bringing different groups together. The galaxy needs that gift now more than ever." She pointed to the ships orbiting Earth. "Do you see that formation? 3 months ago, those same ships were shooting at each other. Now they're planning joint exploration missions to unmapped sectors of space." "How did we do it?" Jake asked. "How did we end a war that had been going on for years?" "We didn't end it," Zara said. "We transformed it. Instead of fighting over what we feared to lose, we started building what we hoped to gain." The ceremony itself was simple but powerful. President White and Zara signed agreements that established Earth as a full partner in the Galactic Cooperative. Admiral Steve Parker accepted command of the new Joint Defense Forces. Dr. Amy Carter was appointed as the first Galactic Medical E-Ray coordinator. But the moment Jake remembered most was when Zara addressed the assembled representatives. 10 years ago," she said, "a young human officer made a choice that changed my life. He chose compassion over safety, help over rules, and hope over fear. Today that same choice defines our entire civilization." She looked directly at Jake. "Every day across hundreds of worlds, beings of different species make similar choices. They choose to work together instead of apart, to learn from each other instead of fearing each other, and to build a future that belongs to all of us." After the ceremony, Jake found himself back on the observation deck. Ryan Foster joined him, now wearing the uniform of the Galactic Defense Force. "Hard to believe we've come this far," Ryan said. "Harder to believe how far we still have to go." "Jake," replied Amy Carter, appeared beside them, carrying a medical scanner that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. "I just finished training a team of Veltar medics in human surgical techniques. 6 months ago, they were trying to kill us. Now they're learning to save lives from us." Ben Collins walked over from a nearby engineering station. "The new ships? We're designing use technology from 12 different species. The innovation potential is incredible." Jake looked at his friends, all of whom had found new purposes in this strange new galaxy. "Do you think it will last?" "What? The peace?" Amy asked. "All of it. The cooperation, the alliance, the hope." Ryan considered this. "Maybe not forever, but it doesn't have to last forever. It just has to last long enough to prove that it's possible." A young officer approached their group. She was human, barely out of the academy, with the eager expression of someone ready to explore the universe. "Admiral Morrison," she said. "I'm Lieutenant Sarah Kim. I've been assigned to the exploration ship heading to the Outer Rim. We received a distress signal from an uncharted system." Jake felt a familiar feeling. "What kind of distress signal?" "Unknown origin, sir. Could be pirates, could be a trap, could be someone who genuinely needs help. Command wants me to investigate, but—" She hesitated. "But it's against protocol to investigate unverified signals," Jake finished. "Yes, sir. What should I do?" Jake looked at the young officer, then at his friends, then out at the ships moving peacefully through space. In the distance, Earth turned slowly, blue and beautiful, and no longer alone. "Lieutenant Kim," he said, "what does your conscience tell you to do? Help them, sir. Whatever the risk. Then help them," Jake said. "And if command has a problem with that, tell them Admiral Morrison authorized it." Lieutenant Kim saluted and hurried away, excitement clear in her steps. "Think she'll find another lost princess?" Ryan asked with a grin. "Maybe," Jake said. "Or maybe she'll find something even better." "What's better than a lost princess?" Amy asked. Jake watched the young officer disappear into the crowd of humans and aliens working together throughout the station. A chance to prove that the future we've built is worth protecting. As the day ended, Jake received one final message. It was from his old trading post on New Colorado, now run by Maria Santos. The message was short, but brought a smile to his face. "Boss," it read, "business is booming. We now trade with 47 different worlds, and I've hired translators for 12 languages. The frontier isn't lonely anymore. Thanks for showing us what's possible when you reach out to help a stranger." Jake looked out at the stars one more time before heading to his quarters. Somewhere among those points of light, Lieutenant Kim was probably approaching an unknown signal, ready to risk everything to help someone in need. Somewhere else, a young alien might be lost and afraid, hoping someone would care enough to save them. And somewhere beyond that, the future was waiting to be discovered by beings who had learned that their differences made them stronger, not weaker. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but for the first time in its history, it was also full of hope. Jake touched the communication device on his wrist. "Bridge, this is Admiral Morrison. Set course for the exploration sectors. We have work to do." As Earth fell behind them and the stars ahead grew brighter, Jake thought about the blue-skinned girl he had saved. A decade ago, she had become an empress, but more importantly, she had become a bridge between worlds that had never learned to trust each other. Now it was humanity's turn to be that bridge, reaching out across the darkness of space to find new friends, new allies, and new possibilities that no one had ever imagined. The adventure was just beginning.